Overdrive, Distortion, Fuzz. If you've played guitar for more than about 6 minutes, then you've probably decided you need some sort of gain pedal. In fact, perhaps you've not even heard the term gain pedal. You just heard drive or distortion and then Googled them, only to realize you've just opened a can of circuitry worms. So which do you buy? Soft clipping, hard clipping, Germanium transistors, waveforms? All very impressive. You see, these pedals all have technical differences. But here's what I'm realizing. Knowing the difference and knowing which ones you actually need are completely different things. Because in the real world, you're not choosing pedals based on circuitry. You're choosing based on feel, on how it fits your sound, your musical preferences, on whether it makes you want to keep playing or quietly put the guitar down and go make a cup of tea. So this isn't going to be a deep technical breakdown. This is a real world use case. So 3 classic gain pedals, same guitar, same virtual amp signal, same mediocre fingers. And by the end, I want to be clear on one thing. Where does each of these actually belong? And which one genuinely belongs on my pedal board? Let's find out. So let's kick off with our Overdrive, specifically the Ibanez Tube Screamer TS9. And a quick history lesson. Before pedals existed, guitarists got overdrive the old-fashioned way by turning tube amps up so loud they started to break up. That sound goes back to the 50s and 60s when players realised distortion, although technically wrong, sounded oh so right. The first actual distortion pedal arrived in 1962, the Maestro FZ1 Fuzz tone, because maxed out low-powered amps already had drive sorted. But as amps got louder, cleaner and more powerful, it became harder to push them into breakup without also getting evicted. So by the late 70s, someone had a clever idea. What if you could get that pushed amp sound without reaching for the amp's volume knob? That's where the Tube Screamer comes in. Originally released in 1979 and designed by engineers working with Japanese electronics firm Maxon, it was designed not to replace your amp, but to nudge it, to simulate that sweet spot where your amp starts to sweat a little. Its signature sound is that famous mid-range hump, which is a very technical way of saying it helps you cut through a band mix without turning into sonic soup. It's been used by players like Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Mayer and The Edge, not as a distortion box, but as a tone shaper, an amp persuader, a polite instigator, which is really the whole philosophy of an overdrive. It's not there to be your sound, it's there to enhance your sound. Overdrive assumes you already sound decent. Some reflections. Overdrive rewards nuance and dynamics. Subtle little details matter, like when your fingernail hits the string just before your pick and you get that soft flick of tone, or how hard you dig in, or how gently you don't. Overdrive enhances all that, like the auto enhance button on an iPhone's camera app. But similarly to that analogy, it doesn't hide anything. It exposes sloppiness. It won't instantly make you sound better. It quietly encourages you to play better. On a good day, this makes me feel classy. On a bad day, it feels judgmental. Best fit genre: blues rock, classic rock, indie rock, anything rock, except prog metal. Best when amp already sounds good, you want control, not chaos, you care about touch. Worst when you want instant excitement, you were hoping the pedal would do the work, you're tired. So next up, distortion, specifically the Boss DS1. Distortion pedals arrived when guitarists wanted something a bit more committed than Overdrive. Where Overdrive politely nudges your amp, distortion kicks the door in and rearranges the furniture. The DS1 was released in 1978 by Boss, right when rock guitarists were starting to want heavier, tighter, more consistent gain sounds, especially live. So instead of mimicking an amp breaking up, distortion pedals like this were designed to create the distortion themselves, using hard clipping that compresses your signal and smooths out dynamics, which is a very technical way of saying it makes your guitar sound more. It's used by players like Kurt Cobain and Steve Vai, which tells you something important. The DS1 isn't about subtlety, it's about self-assurance, charisma, conviction, commitment, aplomb. Or put it another way, Overdrive says, let's see where this goes. Distortion says we're going there. Actually, I know I said I'd stick with the same guitar for a fair comparison, but I think the Distortion warrants a Les Paul. Some reflections about distortion. It's forgiving, not emotionally, musically. Because distortion compresses your signal, it smooths out inconsistencies. Notes feel more even, sustain feels easier, mistakes feel less prosecutable, which is why distortion can feel so good to play through. Now, I'll be honest, it's not my favourite. In fact, of the three we're looking at, it's probably my least favourite because, well, it's kind of like an Instagram filter. It doesn't quite feel real to me. And everyone can get the same tone with this pedal with the simple tap of a foot. But that said, it does sound good. You can instantly sound like all the guitar bands you grew up listening to. And that is fun and reassuring. It's like playing with a really supportive bandmate whose main job is to nod encouragingly no matter what you do. And honestly, some days that's exactly what I need. Overdrive challenges you, distortion has your back. Best fit genres: rock, grunge, punk, hard rock, anything loud. Best when you want instant energy, you're playing simple power chords, muted or open, you're playing solos. Worst when you want nuance, you want dynamics, you've joined a jazz band. So finally, Fuzz, specifically the Electro-Harmonix Big Muff. Now Fuzz is where things start to get slightly unhinged, because unlike Overdrive, which politely enhances, and Distortion, which confidently commits, Fuzz doesn't really ask permission. It just arrives, empties your fridge, drinks your beer, then falls asleep on your sofa. Fuzz actually predates both Drive and Distortion. The first Fuzz circuit appeared in the early 60s almost by accident when a faulty recording console produced a strange, broken, buzzy guitar tone. Engineers tried to fix it, guitarists went, whoa, whoa, whoa there, sonny boy, just hang on a minute. Naturally, guitarists won. The accident led to the first Fuzz pedal in 1962, the aforementioned Maestro FZ1. But by 1969, Electro-Harmonix released something different, the Big Muff. Designed by Bob Meyer and company founder Mike Matthews, the Big Muff wasn't trying to sound broken. It was trying to sound huge, more sustain, more saturation, more everything. Instead of light breakup or a tight crunch, it gives you this thick, almost violin-like wall of sound that can turn a single note into a small weather system. Players like David Gilmour and Jack White famously use it for exactly that reason. Not precision, not clarity, but atmosphere. Because Fuzz isn't really about definition, it's about declaration. Or to put it another way, Overdrive says, here's my tone. Distortion says, here's my tone but louder. Fuzz says, here is tone. reflections about Fuzz. Fuzz is really cool, but Fuzz is honest, brutally honest. Because where Distortion smooths things out, Fuzz exaggerates everything. Pick attack, vibrato, timing, confidence, lack of confidence. It's like a musical magnifying glass, which is probably why Fuzz divides guitarists so much. If you're feeling bold, it sounds massive. If you're feeling uncertain, it sounds concerning. You see, I used to think Fuzz was this uncontrollable wild beast. Now, I think he just refuses to be controlled. Like some wild beast that couldn't give any less shit. And honestly, that's kind of refreshing. Because sometimes the best sounds don't come from precision. They come from committing to chaos a little bit. Overdrive refines you. Distortion supports you. Fuzz, well, I think it just lets you ride it, and whether or not you get bucked is all on you. Best fit genres: psychedelic stoner rock, garage rock, alternative rock, anything slightly dangerous. Best when you want texture, you want sustain for days, you want inspiration instead of accuracy. Worst when you need tight definition, you're playing intricate chords, you fear loss of control. So after all this, here is what I've realised. These pedals don't just change your tone, they change your behaviour. Overdrive makes me pay more attention. Distortion makes me feel confident. Fuzz makes me take more risks, which means perhaps the real difference between them isn't sound, it's mindset and sound. So which one has earned its place on my pedal board? Well, despite the obvious answer, I'm keeping all three. If I'm being honest and I had to pick just one, the one I reach for most isn't the most impressive or sexy. It's the one that makes me forget I'm testing pedals and just play. And for me, that is an Overdrive. Not because it's better, but because it just suits how I want to feel when I pick up a guitar. So now I'm curious, which one does that for you? Let me know in the comments, subscribe if that's something you're into, and perhaps I'll see you in the next video.